You are listening to Practical and Woo by Mindset and Manifest. My name is Eden, and I invite you to embark on a journey with me to explore the practical and spiritual edges of the unknown for the purpose of allowing you to embody and empower yourself uniquely as you are, and to intentionally create and live a life of freedom and fulfillment. Each week, I'm going to discuss topics such as energetics, reality creation, manifestation, astrology, tarot, human design, and more to help empower you to live beyond perceived limitations and to practically design your life so it feels like absolute magic every step of the way. Let's dive in. Well, hello, brilliant soul. How are you? For the past couple of weeks, I was traveling in Colorado, breathing in the fresh Rocky Mountain air. Though there is a weird phenomenon that happens when you're at a higher altitude. It can be much more difficult to breathe. I didn't particularly notice it day to day, but I did notice it when I went dancing. In Ontario, I am able to dance the night away without a care in the world. In Colorado, I made it through about 2 songs before it felt like I was doing an extreme Olympic sport. While I may now be inadvertently telling you my fitness level, I am confiding this information in you for a reason. Coming back from my trip to Colorado, being surrounded by the mountains and mountain air, I felt inspired to expand upon the topic that we started to explore in episode 34 of Practical and Woo. Today, we are discussing personal boundaries. Another word for boundaries is limits, barriers, a point or level for which something does not pass. I assure you, Practical and Woo is and continues to be designed to help you find, explore, and expand your limitless potential. And so you can take ease in knowing that the exploration of personal limits or personal boundaries is actually meant to serve your unlimited ability to design and live fully in a life that you love and a life that feels like absolute magic. It is important to actually learn what your no is and subsequently your yes, and also how to effectively communicate your boundaries to others. Learning how to say no when you truly want to say no, and learning how to say yes when you want to say yes. There are many misconceptions around boundaries. Some think that boundaries have to be this big stone wall that is intended to keep out a fire breathing dragon or some other kind of monster, which undoubtedly would make boundaries feel hostile and unpleasurable. Others feel that setting boundaries will cause them to be rejected or left out of things going forward. Overall, many of us have a lot of hangups and limitations when it comes to boundaries, and this episode is intended to help you shift your relationship to setting them. Instead of being like the stone wall, boundaries are more comparable to a cellular wall, which is permeable. Cell walls allow toxins to go out and nutrients to come in. If you set boundaries the way your cells regulate nutrients, then you aren't creating barriers to entry for the things that nourish you and serve you. Instead, you are allowing intimacy and you're standing in the authority of who you are. This is the environment you can flourish in. This is the kind of reality that lets you live with fulfillment, integrity, and respect for yourself and others. And it all starts with good boundary setting. So, if you're a habitual yes person, for the sake of saying yes and not because you actually want to say yes, then how do you get started setting effective boundaries? The first step is learning to trust and respect your body's wisdom. At all times, your body is communicating with you. There are codes and cues that let you know things like when you're hungry and when you're ready to use the bathroom. Different sensations and prompts that direct you to serve yourself in the way you need to be served in those moments. It is very common for us in this hustle centric world to ignore those urges and prompts. How many times have you worked through hunger pangs only to find yourself raging in a brutal hanger that you unleashed onto someone you love? Whoops. We so often don't allow ourselves to trust or prioritize our cues enough. The thing is, the cues of your body is what helps you to stay in integrity with your own person. Your body is a rich information center that you can rely on. You just have to believe in it and see it for the wise wizard that it is. So, what are the boundary related cues that you might feel? Well, it can be something like a constriction in the throat when you're about to say yes to a job that is really out of alignment with you, or a pit in your stomach when you promised you'd spend time with someone who feels toxic in your life. The cues will be unique to you, but now that I've pointed out the different sensations your body may be probing you with, you can now become aware of your own body barometer and begin to establish an effective style of communication with your body and your boundaries. The second step is finessing the art of saying no. No doesn't have to be a big bad monster that is passive aggressive or angry or naggy or any other characterization that can feel icky. No is our gatekeeper, and it does a really great job of making sure we aren't burning our wicks at both ends or putting ourselves in situations that we don't want to be in. No doesn't have to be mean or nasty. It can be very polite, strong, and respected. Here's an example. Let's say two dear friends of mine ask me to go to a party with them at a bar that is playing all heavy metal music all night long. I process the invitation in my body and I realize that heavy metal music doesn't make me feel good. And so I recognize that my body and self is saying no to the invitation. I love my friends. And I really don't enjoy listening to heavy metal music. Instead of getting caught up in the fear of disappointing them or hurting their feelings, I choose to be honest and I set a boundary. So I say something like, "Thank you so much for thinking of me and including me in this because I love spending time with you. And I won't be able to join you at the bar because heavy metal music doesn't make me feel good. I'm excited for us to all spend time together soon. Are you available to book a coffee date for another time?" Often clients tell me that they are afraid that setting boundaries is selfish. This, in my opinion, is a cultural misconception. You safely resourcing yourself is never selfish. If your body is telling you that you're unavailable for something and you're saying yes anyway, then you are disallowing yourself from building an overflowing energy resource that can actually support you in showing up for and serving others. Here's the example I often give around this concern. Let's say I have a really bad day and I call you to vent about it. And I say something like, "I had a really bad day. Please listen to it and make me feel better." It turns out that you also had a bad day and you don't have the capacity in this moment to hold space for me. Recognizing this for yourself, you're able to say, "Hey, Eden, I hear you had a really bad day. I don't have the mental space to effectively hold you in this moment. Can we book a time tomorrow to talk about how you're feeling?" In society, this is often the point in which someone would say to you, "You're selfish because you're not meeting their needs." But this is a backwards approach to needs being met. With this constant expectation of having other people meet our needs, we are giving up our agency to meet our own. We are giving up our ability to self regulate, self resource, and we are relying on something that is outside of ourselves. When we rely on anything that is outside of ourselves, we give up our power to that reliance. Personally, I feel it's actually selfish to expect someone to meet your needs. Now, allow me to be clear here. I am not suggesting that we shouldn't help each other, comfort each other, commune with each other. In fact, I'm advocating for quite the opposite. True intimacy between one another is born out of respect for one another, acknowledgement of the needs of both sides in a relationship, and a commitment for all parties to be self responsible for their needs being met, to be self responsible for their boundaries, and the creation of their own lives. It is okay to have needs. It is okay to have boundaries. It is okay to say no. You have to give yourself permission to decide. Allow yourself to be so resourced that you give yourself the permission to be honest about the information you processed in your own body. From there, it's a matter of you committing to being an advocate for yourself. Until next time.